health and social care staff are out, our third sector partners are out, our rest centres are open. These are all the positives, and I think they have to be commended. The peak concern for SEPA in terms of the concern around the river this evening, obviously the red warning, the red weather warning comes into play at 6 o'clock this evening, and the severe weather, the severe flood warning comes into play this afternoon. That has been issued by SEPA. The updated data that we have from SEPA from our partnership meeting is that the concern remains around 9 o'clock this evening. So that's the areas that we're looking at, the timings that we're looking at. We think that
Hello,
the river will
Sinaya.
sort of reach the top levels of the barriers at that level, at that time. And then we have to see what will happen. The river
Okay
will
lang,
continue to
no
rise
problem.
because it will not have peaked by 9
Walang
o'clock.
problema.
So we need to be on top of that, and that's why it's important that people are safe and not within their homes, because we don't know what is likely to happen in terms of that.
Salamat sa pagdalaw.
I also mentioned earlier that we have concern about the wind direction. So the wind direction for this event is very different from other events.
Salamat sa patamsak dyan. Baba mo bahay mo. Oh God, the flood.
So we're dealing with that, all of that as much as
Baba mo bahay mo, Sinaya.
and
That's a
I
two.
think probably there's not much more I can add to that.
That was all the sand there. All gone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay, so Stella and Carolyn?
Hi there, Stephen McCallum from Global. Sorry, I'm having technical issues just here. From Heart Radio, Capital Spirit, and LBC. Now, looking on to tomorrow morning, obviously the red weather warning is still continuing.
Andyan meron na.
What can we expect to see and hear tomorrow morning?
So we'll still be in response mode in terms of what we're doing. So we will still be dealing with the red warning, quite rightly pointed out, alongside the amber warnings. Alongside the amber. Oh,
Sky News.
put them on. Somebody put that on.
55 seconds. The Sky News.
Okay,
Hi there, sorry, would you be able to
I will repeat that. I will repeat that, Sarah.
Is it
Okay.
any issue if you speak as if it is tomorrow morning? If at all possible, thank you.
Okay. So we're still in response mode. The amber warning, the red warning remains in place. The amber warnings remain in place. So we continue to respond to the risks that we face based on the information we get from the Met Office and from our colleagues in SEPA. The priority will remain our focus on the citizens in Angus, those that are most vulnerable, and the areas that have been impacted by flooding.
Kita ko sa bahay mo.
Or additional weather impacts from
57
floods
thumbs
as
up.
well. So we continue to respond, and we also look to how we continue to recover from this and how we commence the recovery. But we can't do that while we're still in the warning mode.
Thank you. And what is your advice to residents?
Our advice to residents, particularly those who are in the flood risk areas, is that
Nandito ako sa bahay mo.
need to be prepared and they need to take action. They need to be responsible too for their own households. In addition to that, the council is doing as much as we
Program on the Israel-Hamas war with all the very latest movement here in Jerusalem. That is
Kain tayo.
tonight. See if we can track down more of what the Defence Minister said to those troops. Also expecting to see pictures of Rishi Sunak in Saudi Arabia. For now, then, let's head you back to Cardiff.
Thank you, Anna. Here's more from you throughout the evening. You're watching Sky News today, and still the latest on storm Babette and much of the UK under severe weather warnings for this weekend. And in the business news, yields on 10-year US Treasuries jump again, at hitting a 16-year high. That and more in the city with Ian King later.
Amazon enabled to have a month extra pay for it.
Hamburger. A cheeseburger, cheeseburger.
When you transition back into work.
She's good.
Kadada. Tamsak harang po host. Salamat. Nangyari dito. Salamat sa patamsak at harang dyan.
Down in your 50s. But I've got a few rounds left to go. And I don't want my lot to have to worry about funeral costs. Let them spend their money on nicer things.
Isang oras lang ako,
So,
isang
I
oras.
decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance. From
Isang
Cover
oras
Today.
lang ako
Cover
mag-ano.
Today are the only over
Giles.
50s life insurer with no waiting period. Unlike other insurers who could make you wait up to 2 years for full cover. With Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one and you're covered. for
Nandito ako sa bahay mo.
Plus, unlike other things in life,
58 thumbs up.
never goes up. Go online or talk to their friendly UK team in just one phone call.
Cover Today are the only over 50
Magana ba
life
thumbs
insurer
up?
with no waiting period and no annoying trips to the doctors either. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Now with Cover Today, I can get on something much more interesting.
Baka napalo na yung ano ko. Ah.
Call our friendly UK team on 0800 380 0060 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
Dear Bolt, I'm so glad I sponsored you. Watching you grow and learn is a joy. I love being part of your journey, and knowing you'll change someone's life is the best feeling. I'm very proud you're Paul's guide dog now.
My sight loss made the world a challenging place, but
Talo
Bolt
na nga.
changed everything. I trust him with my life. There are so many people waiting for a guide dog like Bolt, so please sponsor a puppy from just £1 a week.
Become a sponsor like me, and we'll get regular updates, photos, and a cuddly toy. Call 0800 597 8080. Text Bolt to 70099 or visit sponsorapuppy.co.uk. You could give someone the gift of confidence and freedom.
With Bolt by my side, I can do anything.
Guide dogs. Recognize it getting better.
Salamat sa patamsak.
Join Sky Mobile and get 99% network coverage.
Imagine that. Sky Mobile. Hello, Jessica.
Enjoy more of the latest blockbusters on Sky Cinema with Puss in Boots and Last Wish.
I have Puss in Boots. I have 9 lives. How many times have I done? Have shellfish in
Dito ako sa bahay mo. Ay, hindi nga gumagana yung tamsak ko. Patay, sinaya. Hindi gumagana yung tamsak ko. Share. Mega love shout out. Pasensya na kayo. Hindi gumagana yung tamsak ko pala. Pinalo na yata to. Napalo na to. Napalo na. Play na lang kita, sinaya. Hindi maganda. Hindi gumagana yung tamsak ko ngayon.
Hello, yeah, it's Kirsten from STV here in Aberdeen. Just following on from
Salamat, Chair.
12 o'clock this afternoon, and I just wondered, what is your, obviously now it's what, 4 or 5 hours on, what is the main update from you guys, and how much more serious has it become in these short hours and projected to be late this night?
I think the predictions remain the same. If I'm honest, they haven't really changed from the update from SEPA earlier. We spoke at the 12 o'clock briefing on the fact that the severe flood warning was to be issued, and that's happened. So the predictions that we have, the forecasts that we have, remain very much the same. So we've got a red warning, we've got severe flood warnings in place, and that's what we're dealing with. There has been an extension of the red weather warning into areas in Dundee and in Perth and Kinross. But for Angus, the forecast remains very much the same. and our plans and our incident management approach and our coordination through all of our services within council and the partnership and our third sector colleagues remains focused and prioritised on those most in need.
We'll get here at Angus Council doing a brief update there as to what to expect when Storm Babette hits red weather warning extending into Dundee and Kinross, the official there is staying. Washingi Marike is in Stonehaven on the east.
Palo tamsak ko.
And she just tells me about the
Chair, napalo tamsak ko, chair.
for this
Hindi gumagana.
Well, here in Stonehaven, we're less than 2 hours away from the area being battered by that
Ayaw man yung tamsak ko.
red weather warning, and you just get the sense here that they're really battening down the hatches. This is a place which is prone to flooding because of its
Yan ko muna. Pahinga ko muna yung ano ko. Mga alagad ko. Salamat sa patambay.
It's extremely quiet, and outside of lots of the local businesses, you can see sandbags of people prepared to try and prevent that potential floodwater going into their businesses and obviously affecting their livelihoods. We spoke to 2 people who work at an estate agent, which was closing early. This is what they said about how they're preparing for this unprecedented weather.
We're just gonna play it by ear tomorrow. Some people might not be in the office if they're having to travel. So it might just be those who are local giving us to. So yeah, it might be a bit short staff tomorrow.
There's been a lot of work done on this flood, so hopefully, fingers crossed.
Salamat sa parang.
It'll improve over the next 24 hours.
You live at the harbor.
Sinaya dito pa ako sa bahay mo. Nakaplika.
Now, the advice coming from government agencies, the police, and various other agencies across Scotland is to stay inside as this weather worsens. Those people there talking about their preparations as well. But you get the sense here that there's just a bit of nervousness, a fear. We walked over to the seafront here where waves are battering the shore. People are driving up to it, even though there's advice not to do so. Just simply watching this all unfold. The advice to stay inside as this weather worsens, and we're approaching what could be an incredibly devastating storm.
safe and flood defense energy and openness.
Hindi gagana yung tamsak, sinayang. Play na lang kita. Play ko na lang yung ano mo. Binaba mo. Para sa what's hour din.
Warm memories wherever you go. The weather.
At saka harang. Harang, Diyos. What's hour?
Flooding and disruption. Weather warnings have been issued. A red rain warning covers parts of eastern Scotland, indicating there's danger to life and the risk of extensive flooding. Amber warnings in place for wind and rain covering northern Britain. Northern and eastern Scotland are going to be very wet and windy to end the afternoon.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
That's all from the scene here on Sky News today. Coming up on Business Live with Ian King, US government borrowing costs jump again ahead of a speech by the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell.
This is Brooklyn, New York. Where we live,
Dito ko sa harang mo.
no one else. You gotta love the place that made you, and every little moment of inspiration. So we've made this Pilsner for you. Crisp, bright, and refreshing. Inspired by Brooklyn and brewed for all.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn Pilsner.
Oh, sige, sinayang. Salamat.
Here in Kenya, on the acute malnutrition board, one
Ibaba mo muna.
another sleepless.
Baba mo muna yung bahay mo.
Aisha is just 2 years old. Her body is starting to shut down. Extreme drought is killing her family's livestock and causing a
Okay.
devastating shortage
Sige, good night.
for her family. Now it is Aisha's life on the line. Today, you could help save the life of a child like Aisha. Simply text GIVE6 to 61144 or visit SaveTheChildren.org.uk to give £5 a month. Acute malnutrition is painful, ruthless, and deadly. But there's a simple solution that your support could
It's cheap, nutritious, and could quickly help save a child's life.
Please help provide life-saving food paste right away. In this hunger crisis, your support is vital for the survival of children like Aisha. She is the living proof. Hunger is already threatening to take the life of the next child. So please, don't wait to donate. Before another sleepless night, text GIVE6 to 61144 or visit savethechildren.org.uk to give £5 a month. Thank you.
You probably know Vistaprint for business cards, but did you know we also print that? And that? Oh, and that menu. Of course, we make print that lets people wear your brand. Take it. Stick it. Carry anything in it. So remember, with Vistaprint, the printabilities are endless.
Do you find it difficult to get in and out of your bath? Make it easy to bathe. Don't worry about slipping or losing your balance. Easy to Bathe is specially designed to lower you and lift gently into your own bath at the touch of a button. Easy to Bathe gives you full depth bathing and you are in total control. No need to change your bathroom with all that extra expense. Plus, order now and you'll receive free fitting. Call 0800 083 0036 for a brochure or find out more at easytobathe.co.uk.
New year, new us. Are we getting on a lot better since we decided to split up? Honey, it comes out of things unhoused, does it? You regret the things you didn't do. I need to say something. I'm pregnant. Oh, I had a baby very young. It ruined my life. Wow.
The top business story is live from the Sky News City studio. Yields on 10-year US Treasuries jump again after hitting a 16-year high. The Federal Reserve Chairman is due to speak later. London Stock Exchange Group sets it end the year on a high following strong third quarter results. And calls for schools to encourage more children to consider careers as tradespeople, like shortfall in plumbers and electricians. Good afternoon, this is Business Love with me, Ian King. We start with a bit of non-business breaking news. MPTV's parent companies announced 2023 Europe Music Awards have been cancelled. In a statement, Paramount Global, which is the parent company, said, given the volatility of world events, we decided not to move ahead with the 2023 MTV EMAs out of an abundance of caution for the thousands of employees, crew members, artists, fans and partners who travel from all corners of the world to bring the show to life. Now, it's been another jittery afternoon in bond markets ahead of a key speech later today from Jerome Powell, chairman of the US Federal Reserve, with investors looking for clues on how long interest rates may have to remain at current levels amid unease over the ballooning US budget deficit. The yield, which rises as the price falls, has hit multi-year highs this afternoon on a number of different government bonds. Probably the most striking move has been seen in 10-year US Treasury bonds, which at one point today hit 4.983%. That's a level last seen in July 2007. Meanwhile, the yield on 2-year US Treasuries hit 5.253%, and that is a level that's not been seen since 2006. Well, joining me now is Mike Coop, who's Chief Investment Officer for Morningstar Investment Management in the Europe, Middle East and Africa region. Mike, good to see you this afternoon. For those who think bond yields are somewhat abstract, this does have real-world consequences.
So it certainly does, and it's great to finally be able to get decent return out of bonds, having had super low returns for years. This more recent move up in yields is representing a shift in investor expectations, where people had expected the economy to slow down. They were even expecting rate cuts to go back into this year. Those have now been ruled out, and they're looking at actually having a longer period of rates staying as high as they are. So no one knows what's going on in the mind of Jerome Powell. I certainly don't. So we'll find out his thoughts later on. But clearly the environment that we're in has changed and is going to be impacted by the frankly horrific events in the Middle East as well. So we'll wait and see just how central bankers take it into account as they think about the impact and the uncertainty going forward.
Yeah, it isn't just the sort of higher for longer debate here, Mike, is it? I mean, there's a number of other worries, for example, the ballooning US budget deficit.
So it's certainly been the case for quite a while that we've had governments needing to issue more debt than the taxes that they're raising. And the Inflation Reduction Act in the US particularly has meant that that's even been more the case, which is unusual to have this level of deficits during a period of economic growth. So yes, there's more of a technical demand supply that's been somewhat masked by the way in which money's been raised and the quantitative program we've had. It's now coming out into the light. But at the same time, it's also the case that the return you get from bonds is a lot more attractive than it's been for years, as your earlier charts were showing. That eventually does start to induce more demand.
Indeed, it does. Of course, the other thing that's going on, Mike, is that the Federal Reserve is unwinding quantitative easing. It's called QT in the jargon now. It's selling bonds.
Hello,
into the foreign
Spinta.
market.
So there's been a lot of
Thank you for thumbs up.
media commentary around this notion of
Drop your link.
liquidity hole. It's a really complicated subject because you would need to look at all of the holders of US debt and understand their motivations and what they intend to do next and their alternatives. At the end of the day, as I say, it's a case of where can I get a decent return for my money in an environment that's uncertain, who is certain to pay me back, and is the currency that they're paying me back in the currency I want to have. Still the case that the US dollar is a globally dominant currency, and it's still the case that the US government is one of the most secure borrowers you can lend to.
Mike, this isn't, of course, a US issue. We're seeing gilt yields rising and some other big Eurozone bonds as well. I mean, 10-year Italian bonds hit the yield there hit an 11-year high today.
That's right. So the things we've been talking about is that global shift up in inflation, tracing back to really the excess demand versus supply from the COVID pandemic era, all the supply constraints which finally have reversed, but then we had the increase in food and energy prices out of the Ukraine war, and now we've had the ongoing tight labour market. So inflation clearly everywhere has moved up. It's taken longer than expected to come down, and central banks have been forced to raise rates much faster and hold them there. And now the markets are guessing whether they have to continue to raise them higher. The bottom line for investors, though, is that these are now giving you much better returns than before. At the same time, that increase in interest rates is going to eventually slow things down because, as we know, refinancing our own mortgage, when you have to do that, there's less money to spend on other things. So there is this longer-term trend that's going to be weakening demand, and inflation rates are coming down. And actually, the picture going forward is much rosier for bonds, and people should think twice before extrapolating and thinking, "Oh, we're in for another repeat of 2022."
Yeah, good point, Mike. Just to go back to something you were saying, certainly on US Treasuries, yields are offering a reasonable return now. Gilts, though, when you take into account the rate of inflation, they're still a negative real yield.
So, we've got 4.68 thereabouts on the UK 10-year. And you're right in terms of UK inflation. We had the print yesterday, I think around 6.7%.
Drop your link, Spinta.
And we are more at the mercy of energy markets. We have some specific factors around our labour market. So clearly we're a bit of an outlier, and that will not be lost on the Bank of England in terms of what it will need to do. Its rate rises, also have been pretty rapid, and they've risen rates to a higher level as well. But eventually that does have an impact. As I mentioned earlier, as the rates go up and it flows through to borrowers, it starts to sap demand. And what central banks can't do is they can't magically increase the supply of energy, the commodities that are pushing up inflation. So they know that, and they're not going to drive the economy into a deep recession to reduce the demand for a scarce commodity like oil.
All right, Mike, got to leave it there. Appreciate you joining me today. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We're going to return now to the cancellation of the MTV Europe Music Awards. Our entertainment correspondent Claire Gregory is in the newsroom. Claire, I didn't even know about these awards, let alone that they were going on now. Is this a big deal?
Yeah, this is one of the biggest nights in the music calendar, absolutely massive. The European Music Awards due to take place in Paris in November. But today, MTV have put out a statement. I'll read that to you. They say, given the volatility of world events, we've decided not to move forward with the 2023 EMAs out of an abundance of caution for the thousands of employees, crew members, artists, fans, and partners who travel from all corners of the world to bring the show to life. They say the MTV EMAs are an annual celebration of global music and that they look forward to bringing them back again in November 2024.
Thanks, Claire. Now, there's been a dearth of stock market flotations this year, not a great deal of mergers and acquisitions activity either, but that does not seem to be holding back LSEG. The owner of the London Stock Exchange said this morning it was on track to hit the top end of its forecast for the year, despite a drop in sales in its equities business. LSEG, which now makes most of its revenues from data and analytics, following its blockbuster acquisition of Refinitiv 2 years ago, reported an 8% rise in total income in the 3 months to the end of September. Its chief executive, David Schwimmer, told me about his hopes for the partnership with Microsoft, which was announced at the end of last year.
I'm really excited about the progress that we are making in the partnership with Microsoft. We had indicated when we announced the partnership in December that our customers would start to see the benefits of that in the back half of 24. And we are making great progress in the different areas where we're building product together. We've got hundreds of people working together, coding together, programming together. And we're starting to see those products coming into, I'll say, into sight. And really looking forward to getting those out to our customers. We're working with a number of our customers on those products so that our customers are going to be getting exactly what they want out of it. It's pretty exciting. I think it's going to have a big impact on the industry in terms of how financial market players work with each other.
Well, shares of the LSE went up by 1.5% on that trading update this afternoon. LSEG, the London Stock Exchange was hit by a problem which halted trading on all but the FTSE 100, the FTSE Mid 250, and the International Order Book, or IOB. Securities, LSEG says it's investigating. We'll bring you more on that if we get it. Some other business news stories for you now, though. And the pest control giant Rentokil said today that during the first 9 months of this year, it had received 32% more enquiries concerning bed bugs than in the same period last year. It comes amid growing concerns that the UK is suffering an infestation of the pests following a pronounced increase in France. But shares of Rentokil fell by 19% after it admitted that full-year results will be slightly below previous expectations. It blamed near-term market uncertainty in North America. European competition watchdogs are reportedly preparing to clear Hitachi's €1.7 billion takeover of the railway signalling business owned by the French engineering combine Thales. Reuters says this approval will be on condition that Hitachi agrees to sell its mainline signalling business in France and Germany. Well, the news comes 2 weeks after the UK's Competition and Markets Authority gave the deal the green light. It too have insisted on a sale of Hitachi's existing mainline signalling business in France and Germany, but also here in the UK, where it's a major supplier to Network Rail. Schroders has become the latest big fund manager to report a drop in assets under management. The UK's biggest listed asset manager said that as at the end of September, it had £724.3 billion under management. That was down £1.8 billion on the same position at the end of June. Schroders shares have fallen by nearly 2% on that news. Meanwhile, Hargreaves Lansdown, operator of the UK's largest investment platform, saw its shares fall by nearly 5% on news of a slowdown in new client numbers. It gained 8,000 new clients in the 3 months to the end of September. That was lower than the 13,000 it gains in the 3 months to June and the 23,000 that it put on at the first 3 months of the year. Now, schools are being urged to put greater emphasis on trade careers to help plug a shortfall in tradespeople such as plumbers and electricians. Research by Kingfisher, which owns Screwfix and B&Q, suggests the UK will be short of 250,000 tradespeople by 2030, and it will cost the UK economy £98 billion in missed opportunities. Well, joining me now to talk about this is John Newitt, Chief Executive of Screwfix. John, good to see you this afternoon. What do you put this shortfall down to?
Well, I think we all know how difficult it is to find a plumber or electrician at the moment, and there's 166,000 too few to meet the demand in the UK. That's going to get worse. I mean, 2030, there's nothing to mention. We think it's going to be 250,000 too few tradespeople. Plumbing and heating engineers, electricians, carpenters, and joiners are the worst affected. And that's really meaning that the supply can't meet the demand at the moment, with 1 in 5 projects being cancelled because people can't find a tradesperson to do it.
Is this a bit of a hangover from Brexit? Obviously, we know a lot of European tradespeople went home when the pandemic struck and didn't come back here.
I think there's a number of factors, but the real problem is that not enough young people are going into the trade. We talked to 1,000 16 to 25-year-olds, and only 13% of them were encouraged and talked to about going into the trade as a profession. It's a really great career for young people. Of the UK's tradespeople, only 2% of them are actually women. So there's a real opportunity for young men and women to go into the trade and fill that gap.
Do you think this is a bit of an issue with the schools? The schools aren't talking up these career opportunities to people.
Yeah, we think there's a real opportunity to consider. Clearly, university is an option, but also a great option is a career in the trade, which is a great career. The challenge is though that if you go to university, you can get a loan. If you become an apprentice tradesperson, you don't at the moment. You've got to buy your tools. So I think balancing this out and encouraging more young people to go into the trade, which is a great career, is what we need to do.
And in terms of, you mentioned some of the trades where there is the most egregious shortage. How long does it take to train people up in the individual trades?
It depends on the trade itself, but people can start an apprentice and start working straight away on the job. The challenge is that a lot of the people they need to learn from are SMEs, and there really isn't the funding there to support them to train these young people. So we'd really call for there to be some kind of grant that encourages SMEs to take on a tradesperson.
Yeah, we had something like that during the pandemic. I mean, have you worked out how much this would cost roughly?
Well, I think we know that currently there's an apprentice levy, and there's a large amount of that which is going straight to the treasury and being unspent. So I'm not sure this is about the fact that it's not there. It's just creating a scheme where they can be deployed correctly.
All right, John, we have to leave it there. Good to see you this afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Still to come here on Business Night. We'll have a look at how the markets have done this Thursday afternoon. We're giving you a taste of how the bond markets have done. What about the equity markets? Stay tuned to find out.
When cold and flu are that you sleep, it's time to take action. Rely on Night Nurse to knock out the symptoms that keep you awake. Fast, unbeatable strength for relief of aches and pains of cold and flu. Fast with strong stuff to put your cold and flu symptoms to bed. Night Nurse, only available at the pharmacy counter.
I received funding from Amazon for my education and training, and that allowed me the opportunities to develop both professionally and personally.
Lots of us are now doing fuller, less frequent loads to save energy. The longer you leave it, the more stains dry in, and the more odours hang around. Introducing Aerial Platinum, built-in stain removers. Hot first, laundry second, to remove tough stains even on cold. So even fuller loads will be brilliantly clean and smell fantastically fresh. New Aerial Platinum, rated best on stains by Roche.
With cushions for £6, find everything you want all under one roof at Dunelm, the home of homes.
Diet Chef has been helping people lose weight for over 15 years. Go to dietchef.co.uk, choose ready meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, even snacks. No cooking, just heat and eat. But how much does it cost? Find out today for free. Go to dietchef.co.uk to get your free quote. It's easy and no obligation. Dietchef.co.uk or call 0800 612 5011. 0800 612 5011.
Recognize siblings are better than you ever imagined. Join Sky Mobile and get 99% network coverage. Imagine that. Sky Mobile. Hello, Christopher.
I love spoiling my grandkids.
Salamat, Jill.
I love a bit of sun. I love treating myself with the prize I won in the UK lottery.
I love the fact there's no rollovers. Just 1,000 prizes every week.
Yung iba hindi gumagana, ibang tamsak ko.
top weekly prize of £2,000 and a chance to win £25,000 4 times a year.
And I love the price. Just £1 to play.
Best of all, play the Age UK Weekly Lottery and you'll help us answer calls from older people in need.
I love being here for older people when they need help and support.
It's easy to enter. Search Age UK Play or call today. You could be one of our 1,000 guaranteed winners every week.
What's not to love?
Wherever they are, Derby's bring that unique credit.
It's Derby Day. It's a London thing. And this historic rivalry, anything can happen. Goals, drama, unforgettable memories are just a kick away. Chelsea v Arsenal kicks off a great weekend of Premier League action live on Sky Sports.
Take control of your financial future. Interact Invest, sponsor of the Sky News Financial Reports.
Sobra na yata ang dami ng naitikitan. Sa kadaming naitamsa kaya hindi na gumagana. Kaya kailangan dagdagan na ng ano ganahan.
Interact Invest, sponsor of the Sky News Financial Reports.
Well, the jitters on the bond markets have hit equity markets again today. All of the main European stock indices have finished lower this afternoon. The CAC 40 in Paris and the SMI in Zurich both hit their lowest levels
Pero
since
siya
20th of
gumagana.
March. The latter dragged lower by Nestle, which has fallen by 3.5% as quarterly sales missed expectations. Well, here in London, the FTSE 100 finished off just under 1.25% lower in a broad-based sell-off. The biggest percentage faller this afternoon, mentioned the Merlin programme, it was Rentokil Initial, followed also by the property portal Rightmove. That finished off by nearly 14.5%, and that was after the US market leader snapped up its rival on the market and pledged to disrupt the UK market. Another heavy fall in the FTSE this afternoon was Mondi, the paper and packaging group. That closed down more than 6% lower, following a near 21% drop in quarterly profits and a warning that demand will remain soft for the rest of the year. Outside the FTSE 100, well, the mid 250 hit its lowest level for a year, again based on a broad-based sell-off. William Hill's owner, Triple Eight Holdings, fell another 4% following Wednesday's disappointing trading update. Actually, for that, it's only a 1.33 in the end. One of the rare gainers, though, today, Hypnosis Songs, that rose by 4% after it launched a strategic review. Over on Wall Street, all of the main stock indices are lower this afternoon. Obviously, everyone waiting to see what Jay Powell's going to say. Tesla has fallen by more than 8% after its results after the closing bell last night were poorly received. But Netflix has surged by 15% after reporting its best increase in subscribers since the pandemic. On the foreign exchange markets, well, there's been a bit of safe haven buying earlier on. So look at that pound more or less finished unchanged against the US dollar, down 1/3 of 1% against the euro, the single currency against the dollar. The oil price, meanwhile, well, that's actually fallen today. The US eased sanctions on Venezuela to get a little more crude flowing through the global market. Barrel of Brent crude will currently set you back $91.34 a barrel. That's off just over 6.1% lower. Is Alex Funk, Chief Investment Officer at Schroeder Investment Solutions. Alex, good to see you again. The oil price is back to where it was a fortnight ago, but it's going in the wrong direction as far as inflation watchers are concerned.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is something we discussed a couple of weeks ago as to how that oil price can affect. And I think we're acutely aware of what's happening in Israel and Gaza, and our thoughts go out to all those affected. But this is another stumble block in terms of that oil price and the mechanism, what that feeds through into the economy. I think that quickly links back to our inflation print that we saw in the UK as well. So if you think about it, what was the key standouts? It was fuel price, sort of the price that we pay in our cars, but also around nurturing and private education. So we can see how that the oil price does ultimately affect these inflation prints, which is going to cause a headache for central bankers.
Salamat, Chair Harangway. Salamat.
Piece of news out of China yesterday, news that their economy grew by 4.9% in the third quarter. But does that have
have inflationary implications as well.
Nadagdagan ko lang yung mga ano ko. Naalagad ko sa ano para gumana siya.
These are not massive numbers, right? Clearly, it's probably moving China back to its 5% growth target for the year. So I think that's quite encouraging. And I think there's
Hello, yeah.
if we think about what's really driving
You sleep.
some of this growth, it's really destocking of inventory.
You were asleep.
But there's no consumer really confident at this point.
Kasi hindi siya gumagana.
Inflation in China, also manufacturing globally. So I don't think it's a contagion from a broader inflation aspect, but definitely one to watch. Don't think there'll be too much excitement out of that though. But something definitely that is interesting is India, right? And so in India we've seen sort of 6% GDP growth for the last 30 years. And what it's done, what China struggled to do is convert that into earnings within the stock market. Clearly that's in the price, it's expensive. A lot of people have cottoned on to the growth in the Indian market. But I think you'll see an interesting dynamic play out that potentially India could be the beneficiary of ongoing geopolitical risk between China and the US. And what we saw just a couple of days ago with Nvidia and the ban or the sort of reluctance to continue to support China, that's just another move in that direction, really.
Yeah, and what about what we're hearing from some corporates just now? When I just went through the market report, we had a litany of profits warnings there. Rents are not very good, but Mondi missing there. Heavy rain. Just a couple of the key lines for you from the Middle East, just developing in the last little while. News from the US State Department that has issued worldwide cautions for US citizens overseas, citing potential for extremist attacks and violent action. So that's just come from the US State Department. Let me show you the live pictures on the border with Lebanon. That's the job looking into Lebanon, and news in the last hour that the German Prime Minister has told German citizens to leave Lebanon with the fears of the conflict widening. So that's a new line. Let me also tell you about the UN Secretary General, because he's just been speaking. Antonio Guterres called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza.
Wilma, mega love shoutout post. Mega love shoutout Wilma, pababa bahay.
With Egypt's foreign minister, he also called on Hamas to release the
Baba mo bahay, Will.
on October the 7th. So those
Salamat, Chair.
When we're back here in the next few minutes, we'll be live with Houston Set reporting from southern Israel. We'll also be speaking to Mark Regev, the Israeli spokesman for the Prime Minister, on Rishi Sunak's visit there to Israel today, and of course the situation and the calls for aid to get into Gaza. So all of that is coming out in a moment or two after weather, and that's with Chris.
Hello, Storm Babette is going to be bringing some extreme rainfall to the UK over the next couple of days. A rare top-level red Met Office rain warning has been issued for Aberdeenshire, Angus, Dundee, Perth and Kinross. It's here where we'll see the largest rainfall totals, but over the next few days we'll also see the rain heavy enough, persistent enough to cause problems elsewhere across northern and eastern Scotland and eastern areas of England. It's the accumulation of rain.
Okay. Sige, puntahan ko yan.
It's not just rain. We've also got some very strong winds for eastern Scotland with gusts reaching 70 odd miles an hour. Those winds strong enough to blow down some trees, so in itself could cause some disruption. The rain turning heavier through the rest of today. Northern Ireland, England,
Dito ako sa bahay mo.
spells and a few heavy showers.
Ay.
Now, in Scotland, we have these amber weather warnings.
Try ko lang, Will, kung gumana tong tamsak ko Kasi yung iba hindi siya gumagana Sa dami na yata ng ano, hindi pa gumaganda. Gumaganda. Hindi pa ba?
Severe impacts. Some communities could get completely cut off due to flooding that's expected. Now,
Titingnan ko lang. Dami na ako tinamsak. Hindi talaga yun. Ay, nako. Nakakaasar naman siya Try ko dito. Yan, gumana. Yan, gumagana yung Edna.
Heading to Friday, you'll notice something of an improvement in the weather slowly across northern Scotland. However, even as the rain stops falling here, remember, all that water will still be pouring off the river catchments, and so the flooding is likely to get worse before it gets better, even long after the rain has stopped falling down. And then there's a focus of the rainfall shifts a little bit
Yeah.
further southwards to the Scottish borders, the Cheviots, the peaks of the Pennines, where through Friday
5
night into
tamsak,
Saturday,
Vilma.
we're also seeing some large
Sa ano
rainfall
mo?
generations, over 100 millimetres in places, and that in itself is likely to cause
Sa primer
some
mo.
issues as well. So,
Sandali lang,
storm
chair.
threat over the next few days is likely to
Titingnan
bring
natin
some
to. Ito
widespread
gumagana siya eh.
flooding and
Salamat
disruption
host. Walang ano
is
man.
expected.
Balikan kita, chair. Dito ako sa'yo, chair. 21 tamsak. 22. Tingnan natin. Tingnan mo kung gumana.
You experience racism. Why did you walk away? That's a really good question. You're a politician.
I'm not a politician. I don't read the phone. I said the judiciary committee.
Walong pang 9 tamsak kay Norms.
Actually, yes, you can. Talk Talk. Watch on BBC iPlayer.
We list everything.
On the piece.
There is a human story. This is our world.
Dan na ako kay Norms.
We got
The human drama at the heart of your
Dan na ako kay Norms.
Watch on BBC iPlayer.
Dali. Lalagyan natin to ng ano. Ng banana to mga ano natin. Banana. Balikan ko yung ano mo, bahay mo. Chair. Para makita kung gumana na ba. Itong 22 tamsak yung ano eh, itong Edna.
Live from London,
Edna
this is
Retorta.
BBC News.
Ha
BBC
ha
News
ha.
gives Israel his full backing in a meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
You describe this as Israel's darkest hour. Well, then it's for me to say I'm proud to stand here with you in Israel's darkest hour as your friend. We will stand with you in solidarity. We will stand with your people.
This is not merely our battle, it's the battle of the entire
Tingnan natin. Tingnan natin. Ito isa. Isa lang ang manito eh.
About 100 lorries are required every day. The frustration as trucks loaded with supplies remain stuck at the border crossing point.
Wait. Busy lang ako. Kasi namamalan sa ako. Sige, well. Ito gumagana siya. Ito gumagana siya. Sige, well. No problem. Don't problem the problem. Let the problem you. Tapos na pala ito.
Have landed here, and from where we can see Israel's airstrikes and
Wait
artillery
lang
are
ha.
continuing into the Gaza Strip.
Kasi pinaganohan ko tong mga alagad ko na malagyan ng mga banana para siya maging legit. 12-13.
Has arrived in Saudi Arabia on the second leg of his two-day visit to the Middle East. His first stop was in Jerusalem, where he told his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu that the UK stands with Israel.
Remind me on. Tomorrow morning. About the bends.
Oh
The
yeah.
balloon's going to be full. So that's all it is.
Yeah, okay then.
And then the van bin, and then get rid of that too. Like half, well, some half a glass in this. Get rid of.
Yeah.
Sure.
7.
United Nations and other charities are warning that in Gaza, more than 2 million people need far more than the 20 trucks of aid, which seem to have been agreed by President Joe Biden in his discussions with Israel and Egypt while he was in the region. The UN's humanitarian chief, Martin Griffiths, has said that the people of Gaza need at least 100 lorries a day.
Could have been
piled up on the Egyptian side of the Rafah crossing now for many days. Joe Biden had said that convoy could start moving as soon as tomorrow. Meanwhile, aid agencies, more than 100 of them, have called for an urgent ceasefire to allow aid to be distributed in safety. But aside from the deepening humanitarian catastrophe, the death toll continues to rise in Gaza too. Health officials there say that more than 3,800 Palestinians have been killed so far in Israel's retaliatory airstrikes. Today, in one of the latest strikes, the city of Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip was hit.
I think
The
that
images show
cameras
desperate
on sometimes.
scenes.
Salamat, Chair. Salamat, Chair. Salamat, Chair. Salamat, Chair. Mute ko muna kasi maingay itong isa eh.
Reach that objective of eradicating Hamas leadership and military capabilities in Gaza. So that is really the main difference now.
For now, Israel continues to hit targets inside Gaza from the air, confirming it had hit hundreds of Hamas infrastructure sites. But say Palestinian officials, there have also been numerous civilian casualties, many of them children. Gaza's humanitarian situation is dire, and like President Biden before him, Rishi Sunak impressed on Israeli leaders the importance of allowing limited aid into Gaza through the border with Egypt, something Israel has agreed to and which should begin by the end of the week. Israel says it cannot allow its friends or the
Your drinks.
world to forget what happened on October
Okay.
1400
We're doing an hour on top of it.
on the day of Rishi Sunak's visit.
Mind you, I don't know. Well, the breaks are tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's maybe you see me walking past sometimes.
What?
Walking past. Yeah.
Stretching
focus on the
my body.
anger and distress here in
It's
Israel
more
after
do it
those
like that.
atrocious attacks carried out by Hamas on October the 7th here in southern Israel,
Oh,
and
nice.
how
Okay.
one Western
Okay.
leader after another are coming here to Israel to stand by
Okay.
Israel
Fair
and
enough.
defend its right
Yeah,
to
because how
defend
many
itself
days I
at
don't
this
shower.
hour. But in
So
the
that
midst
is
of this,
skin.
there is this concern about the humanitarian crisis in the Gaza
I'm
Strip.
not used to it.
The World
I'm
Health
not,
Organization
I'm
has
not used
urged
to it for
Israel
not
to allow
shower every day
fuel
yet.
into the Gaza Strip.
But
So
you,
far, the agreement,
not
which was
then.
brokered
You've
by
been used
US
to it
President
already.
Joe Biden,
But the
only
boss is that
includes
one.
food, medicine,
But it does
and
come off from the boss.
The
Fuck
Director
that.
General
Let's
of
see
the
that.
WHO has said that it has
Ah,
5 trucks full of
you know,
medical
I'm
supplies
in the Philippines every day shower. So, but yeah, that is the problem. And then also it's cold here.
So far, it's warm. We can warm now.
Yeah, that's right.
We've got hot water.
ambulances
Quite
and
full.
desalination plants. And we
Hot
urge
water
Israel
plants.
to add fuel to the life-saving
Mhm.
supplies
Oh,
allowed
no, no,
into
no.
Gaza.
Okay.
Our
And see you in
tracks
the world.
are loaded
Behave
and
yourself.
ready to go.
Because if you don't
We
behave
work with
yourself.
innocent societies to deliver our supplies into Gaza as soon as the Rafah crossing is over. Hopefully tomorrow.
Oh gosh. No!
the Director General of the World
Oh, yeah,
Health
that's okay.
Organization. Well, let's get an assessment of what happened today. We can go to Jerusalem to join our
Yeah,
news
let's
correspondent
go.
Tom Bateman. Tom Bateman,
That's the doctor.
today was Rishi
He might
Sunak.
tell you what to
Yesterday
do.
it was
No,
Joe
no,
Biden.
that's the
Before that it was the German Chancellor Scholz. How is this going down in Israel as Western
Okay, then.
leaders come to very
Happy
publicly
to-
show
and
their
be careful.
support for Israel at what
Yeah,
Rishi
okay.
Sunak has described as darkest hour?
Well, I think first and foremost, it is that message of solidarity that is being absorbed by Israelis, seeing the rapid number of Western leaders making their way with such speed in the middle of a crisis and hostilities into Israel has been unprecedented. So that message is certainly being noted. And I think particularly after this,
Sandali lang, cheer, ha?
this
Sandali lang.
very
Wait a
personal
minute.
connection in this sort of in this
Just a minute.
very well constructed speech. I mean, the majority of it was around his what he said was his desire to stand with Israel to show solidarity. So that I think for all the Israelis has been a very important message as this crisis continues and deepens, and particularly the issue of hostages still being unresolved. But I think what's interesting, Leeds, is what we saw a change in the tone of what Western powers were saying after Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, made this rapid tour of about 8 Arab capitals towards the end of last week. That's when we started to hear much more the message about 2 things. Firstly, about the need to get humanitarian aid, desperately needed, into Gaza through the Rafah crossing, and also more of an emphasis on restraint by Israel being demanded from these countries. And we heard Rishi Sunak emphasize that again today, talking about Israel needing to act within the laws of war, within international humanitarian laws. And that's important. And I think the reason that's happening is this is part of the attempt to prevent a regional escalation. Because what's happening in the Arab world is people see increasingly these pictures of the desperate situation among all the Palestinians in Gaza, that surging civilian death toll in Gaza. It is raising the temperature. You know,
Hi,
we're seeing a
can you
crisis now
add
in
me
the
to
occupied
your
West Bank,
stream?
death rates, fatality rates that we haven't seen since the Second Intifada. We saw, for example, people being called to march on the Israeli embassy in Amman in Jordan 2 nights ago. This is very concerning. It's worrying these powers, and that's why I think we're seeing, Rishi Sunak and President Biden yesterday talk about what they are trying to do to alleviate the situation in Gaza and to some extent try to restrain the operations of Israel.
Well, in that statement issued by the Israeli Prime Minister's office, they made it clear that no aid would go from Israel to Gaza, not while Hamas is holding more than 200 hostages, but that in an agreement with Egypt, that they would allow aid to start coming through the Rafah crossing from Egypt. But is there concern that that first convoy, which could start moving as soon as tomorrow, may end up just being a symbolic gesture? That after those 20 trucks, that there may not be what the Egyptians have spoken of, a sustained passage of desperately needed aid.
Well, of course, that's very possible, and this is such a volatile situation. You know, we were expecting on Monday of this week that there would be a humanitarian truce that was being talked about to let aid in. It never happened. That crossing has not opened since the hostilities began. The situation is extremely volatile.
Chair, nag-end ka na, Chair.
On the area around the Rafah crossing, and that has made some of the roads impossible to pass. That's why the Egyptians are saying that at the moment what they're doing, trying to do as quickly as they can, is to repair the roads so that those trucks can go in. Because there's no guarantees. The Israelis have already
Nag-end
said
ka na pala.
to this that there should be searches of vehicles to make sure there's nothing that could be used by Hamas smuggled inside. They've talked about the need for the supplies.
Wilma, dito ko sa bahay mo, Well. Tamsak dikit.
So very importantly, no fuel going in. That's critically needed in Gaza to allow the water supply to be repumped, to allow water filters to function, and for allow hospitals who desperately need to keep operating to function as well. And we've heard just about everyone from all the aid organisations say 20 trucks will do a bit to help. It's nowhere near what they need. There's about at least 100 trucks per day to get through to Gaza to alleviate this desperate situation.
Klagas na naman.
Abatement in Jerusalem. Well, Joe Biden had hoped by his face-to-face diplomacy here, he would be able to secure the urgently needed agreement to allow the aid to start coming into the Gaza Strip. He did provide a rare glimmer of hope.
Bakit
But
na
there's
andyan
been
ka
a
sa ano?
huge and growing chorus of voices today among aid agencies saying it's simply not enough. Calling not just for far more trucks to be allowed in, but as we heard in this program,
Nasa
fuel as
baba
well.
ka.
The United Nations says that is one of the most important life-saving supplies, in which there is no more left in Gaza. And even more than that, the aid agencies and Gazans are calling for a humanitarian ceasefire. But right now, what Israel is looking ahead to and still preparing for is what is expected at some time. The date, of course, is still not known. Is that expected ground attack on Gaza? And then it could be a whole new phase of this war. We'll continue to follow all of the developments from here. Back to you, though, Matthew, in London.
Lisa, thanks very much, Lisa said there in southern Israel, around the world and across the UK. You're watching BBC News. Well, let's take a look at some of the stories making the headlines here in the UK, because the government has published an updated list of 214 schools and colleges in England it says have crumbling concrete. That's a rise of 40 on the previous tally of buildings affected by wrapped concrete. Welsh Water has admitted illegally spilling untreated sewage at dozens of treatment plants for years. The admission was made after the BBC presented the water company with analysis of its own data. In one of the worst affected areas, the company has been spilling untreated sewage into an environmentally protected area near a rare dolphin habitat for at least a decade. And people are voting in 2 by-elections today. They will decide who replaces Nadine Dorries in Bedfordshire and Chris Pincher in Tamworth after the resignation of the Conservative MPs. Polling stations opened at 7 a.m. and will close at 10 p.m. this evening, with results expected early on Friday morning. Well, you're live with BBC News. Now, the Israeli Defence Force is still preparing for an expected ground invasion of Gaza, as Lisa was saying, with tens of thousands of personnel, tanks and artillery on the edge of the territory. But the soldiers will face extraordinary risks, including the challenge of attacking the Hamas tunnels which snake under that territory. Well, Richard Kent is a former commander of operations in Afghanistan. He gave us his assessment of the military options Israel could be considering.
Israel has 2 fundamental challenges. There are many other challenges as well, but 2 predominant ones. One is to deal with Hamas inside Gaza, and that's being done right now from the air. And at the point when the IDF decide that they will have degraded Hamas as far as they can from the air, then I believe it's quite likely they will launch a ground operation in order to eliminate and eradicate the remainder of Hamas, one way or another. And there are different ways of doing that. And the second challenge that Israel faces is in the north, where Iran has 150,000 missiles operated by their proxy Hezbollah.
I mentioned risks. What type of fighting do you anticipate?
Well, inside Gaza, it's going to be close quarters fighting. Hamas, when Hamas carried out this attack 2 weekends ago, they did so knowing there's going to be an Israeli response of this sort, and therefore they have prepared the ground. And on the ground, they have got booby traps covering large areas. They've got ambush sites. They've got mines laid. They've got people waiting to attack them using anti-tank teams, and they have got the attack tunnels you mentioned, from where they can attack Israeli forces from pretty much any direction. So it's going to be tough fighting, and particularly in built-up areas where Israel goes into the major city of North Gaza, which I think it will have to do, Gaza City. Then they're going to be facing some of the toughest fighting, in which I would expect there will be significant numbers of IDF casualties in that fighting, as well as terrorist casualties. And unfortunately, because there will be civilians remaining there, there will also be probably a significant number of civilian casualties as well. But suffice it to say, it's going to be probably the toughest fight Israel has ever involved itself in its history.
I was listening to one expert a little earlier talking about previous incursions and the length of those incursions, and their assessment was this time, with the stated objective of trying to simply wipe out Hamas altogether, it would be much, much longer. In terms of any sort of rough timescale you'd have on an operation of that size, what is your assessment?
It's a very difficult thing to forecast, and certainly not even the IDF will know how long it's going to take. But I would say we're looking at no less than 3 to 4 weeks, I would have thought, before Hamas is essentially crushed. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean killing them all. I think there'll be a large number killed, already have been a large number killed. It's a horrible thing to say about killing people, but in this situation, Israel has no choice, because those people will, if they're not dealt with in this way now, then we will see repetitions of rocket attacks and also the kind of massacre we saw last weekend. But it's not necessarily killing all of them. There are options where perhaps once they've been hit sufficiently hard, that some of them, the survivors, may wish to get the hell out of Gaza, and that I've no doubt that the IDF and Egypt are looking at options for that, where perhaps they can leave Gaza through Egypt and then go where to, I don't know at all. But one way or the other, I think the IDF is going to have to get rid of, either kill or remove the vast majority of Hamas terrorists.
Well, families of children missing or kidnapped by Hamas have held a news conference in Tel Aviv today. Yvette Saylor is the aunt of 4-year-old Ariel and 9-month-old Kadir, who were both taken. Let's have just a quick listen to some of that press conference.
This is torture. There are innocent civilians, innocent children in hard conditions. They're not a pawn in a game or a war. They need to be released, and released now, yesterday. This is crazy. This is a nightmare.
Well, let's speak live. That's Mark Regev, who's senior advisor to the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, former Israeli ambassador to the UK. Mark Regev, welcome here to the programme. How important was it today to have the British Prime Minister in Israel the day after the US President and the things he said?
It was great to have him here to express the solidarity of the British government and the British people to what has happened to Israel, to the crisis we're in. His show of solidarity and support was greatly appreciated. And as you said, it came the day after the US President, 2 days after the German Chancellor, and I believe we're shortly going to have a visit from the French President. And I think we're seeing leader after leader across the planet come to Israel, express solidarity, express their outrage at what Hamas did, that brutal massacre of October 7th, and support Israel's legitimate right to self-defense, and that we are in a war, and they support us. And I believe, as your Prime Minister, as the British Prime Minister said today, that they want us to win, and we will win.
yes, he couldn't have been clearer in terms of the language he used. He also talked about the hostages, and we were hearing harrowing accounts yet again from another of those news conferences we played just before we came to. Now, Rishi Sunak also welcomed Israel allowing aid into Gaza. What is Israel saying about humanitarian aid in terms of how much will be let in, what it will let in, where it actually goes?
Well, as has been reported widely on the BBC, we've asked the civilian population to relocate from the north to the south of the country to get out of harm's way, because we expect a lot of very, very serious and deadly combat in the north. And it makes common sense to have civilians move out of harm's way. And so they've moved into the south, and frankly, there isn't the infrastructure there or the facilities for so many new people. And so I think the humanitarian effort will be focused there on the internally displaced people. And that will come up through the Rafah crossing from Sinai into Gaza. That's the plan.
Now, Israel has said no to fuel. Let me just read you a quote from the head of the United Nations Relief Operations, UNRWA, who has said today the fuel is so important because we need it for the water stations, we need it for the desalination stations. A few days ago, I was raising the alarm that there's no water anymore in Gaza. And water is life. There are too many stories now of people consuming dirty water, and that's become a health hazard too now in the Gaza Strip.
That's right.
Will you reconsider that decision around fuel?
So fuel is a problem in
Pasies.
this week when there were tankers that came in with
Ray.
and we know for a fact that those were stolen by Hamas and diverted.
Kaano ko lang kasi nag-ano ko sa YouTube.
Kuta ka na naman siguro ba?
Nag-YouTube ako, naka-live ako sa YouTube.
Sure, ha?
Kuta ka dyan. Makakuta ka dan yan. Ore nang ngani kuta-kuta. Kay mga kapoy dagani. Kapoy na peraw pa.
Kapoy na piraw pa.
Di ka pa mga turog hintuhay pagkadlaw kay adi ang mga silingan nag-aringas ha. Sigihin kuan bundak-bundak ang mga kuan eh.
Bakit hindi ba maano sa inyo? Naririnig ba?
Oo naman kay magkadikit lang kasi yung ano. Yung bahay kasi dito magkakadikit yung bungbo dingding.
So Hamas hits us hard. They murder our people. They
Parang ko lang yun na bahay, parang subdivision.
Oo.
Subdivision ganyan.
Paparehas yung mga ano nila, mga ano ba yan, mga model, yung parehas yung mga ano ba? Style. Kaya ganon.
Maalat man ngayon.
Alat talaga.
Wala man.
Maalat
kaila.
To wipe out Hamas. How can you do that without large numbers of civilian casualties?
So the truth is, we can't. There will inevitably be civilian casualties. There hasn't been a war in modern history where there hasn't been innocent civilians caught up. That's a fact of life. But as a democratic country, we will make civilian casualties to minimize.
Natulog ka na kagabi? Tinulugan mo yung PL mo? Pasawa ito. Salita ako ng salita. Sabi ko, Norms, tapos na. Tapos na ako, Norms. Out na ako. Tinignan ko yung ano, kung ano ka ba, naggagambol ka, hindi naman na pala. Sabi ko, wala na. Tulog na to.
Nagano si Mabil kanina, Mabil. Nandun sa PL ko kanina.
Tapos?
Nagila na siya, saka si Helen.
Nag-PL ka ng ano, ng araw?
Oo, kanina, naglaro ako. Nag-ano si Madel. Ay, thank you.
What do you expect them to do?
Ay, ano yung kapatid mo na si Helen?
You are urging people to leave because
Bumalik sila.
Nag-urging nga si ano kanina. Mabel.
And they know where Hamas has its military installations. They know where
Kasi
Hamas
sabi
has
ko, hindi naman nag-ano yung kapatid mo. Hindi nag-buwan. Hindi ba? Oo. Tawagan niya. Pinasiis niya. Mag-member daw yun.
from Hamas military machine.
Sabi niya, mag-member daw siya sa akin.
Talaga lang.
So, sige, mag-member ka para may kasiisan ka. Hindi ka mag-member wala kang kasiisan.
Talaga lang.
Na, mahiya ka naman umakyat sa iba, oy.
Oo naman.
Mahiya ka. Oo, mahiya ka, oy. Hindi basta-basta makipag-ano ka na hindi mo kilala at saka ano.
Mayroon akong siniisan na
Kaya ako, mag-kick-out lang din ako. Pag ano sa akin, hindi ko kilala, ay kick-out kita talaga.
may siniisan ako na
Kick-out ko kasi hindi naman ako pumupunta sa PL nyo.
yung dati hindi ako nagsiis sa'yo, may siniisan ako, si Joanne. Siyempre nasa Pinas yun.
Wala na.
Pag was na minsan tulog na siya, hindi na ako makapagsiis.
Pag anuhin mo yan, Saudi din yung ibang bansa kasi gising. Pag sa ano ka, wala. Talaga, tulog na yun.
Tapos nakakapagsiis ako sa kanya pag umuwi na ako galing sa trabaho. Umaga na dito. Siya nakapag nagpipil.
Kung ganyan, nakano, pero pag... Nag-live si Cherry ngayon, White?
Oo.
Hindi naman nag-chat sa akin na...
Nagtamsak nga ako sa kanya na ano ako kasi yung tamsak ko hindi gumagana, napalo ni Lolo. Dami kong tinamsak. Sabi ko tamsak ako ng tamsak. Yung pala hindi gumagana, walang iya ay.
Hindi na siya pumunta dito. Hindi na siya nag-visit sa akin. Hindi ko alam kung nag-visit siya. Busy din ako kanina.
Naanuhan ko kasi nakabilol ako. Mga alagad ko nakabilol sa kanya. End na ako.
Kasi hindi ko hawak yung cellphone ko. Ngayon nga,